Hey, this is David with theprepperbookshelf.com, and today I got a book that if you could only have one self-defense mindset book, one book about being and responsible for yourself and taking care of yourself and dealing with all the aspects of a use of force situation, all the mental and physical and emotional trauma. Hey, this is David with the Prepper Bookshelf, and today's book is a book that I cannot recommend enough. If you only had one book, if you could only have one book to help you with combat mindset, what goes on in your body physically, psychologically, what happens sociologically after a gunfight, all the gamut of, all right, you pulled the trigger, now what? Or what happens to your body as you're gearing up to pull the trigger. This is the book, okay? On Combat from Col Grossman. Every time I give a class, I talk about sections in this book, right? If I won the lottery and could give this out to everyone, then I would. Basically, Grossman and Lauren Christensen, who I've also recommended some of his stuff, he's also kind of helped with this. And the foreword was from Gavin DeBecker, which is in a book I'm about to review. But anyway, he was a airborne enlisted, got out, went to college, came back in as an officer, ended up teaching psychology at the military academy, did one of the first studies on post-traumatic stress since World War II, right? There's not a whole lot of good actual studies on what happens in the body after a gunfight, what happens emotionally, and he's one of the few people who've done a study on it. Tabbed, dog-eared, read, reread, notes written in it. This is an awesome book, and it tells you about what post-traumatic stress is, how to deal with it, combat breathing. I use some of the stuff out of here, when the wife tends to get a little overwhelmed, I'm like, breathe, let's count, all the different techniques and stuff out of this. Awesome, awesome, awesome book. Totally recommend it. Talks about military conditioning, talks about psychological conditioning, kids and video games and spree shooters, and just, you can't beat it. So, there you go. And until next time, you can always catch us online at prepperbookshelf.com. Hey, this is David with the Prepper Bookshelf, and today I've got a book from Gavin DeBecker, and this guy actually wrote the computer program that the Secret Service uses to do threat assessments on, mail bombs and stuff. This guy knows threat assessments, and his book, The Gift of Fear, is a great book. If you're going to carry a gun for self-defense, if you're going to walk around in condition yellow, if you know what condition yellow is, this is an interesting book, and it's worth the time it takes to read it, and it's worth the time it takes to reread it. So basically, this guy, his whole book is, fear is not bad, okay? It's not something that you should be afraid of. Fear is a psychological condition that's brought about by your body recognizing a threat. Maybe your subconscious mind sees something, has processed something that's not quite, to the front of your mind. The spidey sense, the gut feeling, those sorts of things. And he talks some case studies about how, people's gut feelings and how they followed the gut feeling has saved their life. One story in here, and I use it a lot in some of my response to terrorist bombing classes, talks about, if you ever go to the post office, they got that little poster for letter bombs, right, and all that. It's all pretty old, and they don't really use it very much, but everybody pretty much knows if it's lumping, misshapen, excessive postage, misaddressed, misspelling, wires coming out of it, ticking, oily stains, whatever, it looks suspicious, right? And he talks about how this controversial business executive comes into the office. His secretary's there, everybody's around his secretary's desk. He goes over, and they've got a package. And if you took that post office chart for bombs and just check marked, they'd have every check mark. I mean, obviously there was something fishy with this package. And they said, it's to you. And he's like, I ain't opening it. You know, that thing's probably a bomb. And he turned around and walked off. And he was kind of joking, but he kind of wasn't joking, you know. And as he walks off, you know, somebody opened it and bam, it was a bomb, you know. He had a gut feeling and he went with it. Very important and something that you should be aware of, you know. You need to know the difference between true fear and unwarranted fear. You know, how to use fear as a tool and not let fear control you. And this is a great book, a great starting place for learning that. Okay, and not only that, it's pretty easy to read. It's an entertaining book also. So anyway, well worth the money. So there you go. And until next time, you must catch us online, www.prepperbookshelf.com.